Hey guys, Legendary Grimlock here, and today we're actually going to see how far would Hydranoid get if he was in Dungeons and Dragons. Could he make it all the way to the Ancient Ones and maybe clear the entire verse? Well, let's find out. Now, Hydranoid will be having all of his powers and abilities from his first form to all the way to his last form, and obviously we will have to address the cosmology for both here. So without further ado, let's begin, and let's go with Dungeons and Dragons first. Now, Dungeons and Dragons is basically a multiverse, or possibly even a bit more here, as it was created by Lo, or Asgarath, the primordial dragon. Now, keep in mind, three planes were created: the inner plane, the astral or material plane, and then the outer plane. There's also many other planes within the material plane, like the ethereal plane, the abyss, and so on and so forth. Now, keep in mind, within these three planes, within these three layers, if you will, right, there are a multitude of infinite universes. Doesn't matter who they belong to, doesn't matter, who created them. Again, they're all infinite in size within the material plane. With each of these planes, or each of these universes, I should say, again, not only being infinite in size, but having many dimensional properties. Some of them have 6-dimensional properties, some of them have 5-dimensional properties. And most of these universes, keep in mind here, are actually bonded to some of these entities. Now, there are beings in the Dungeons and Dragons and cosmology that have a certain tier here, which we will be using as we'll be kind of just going through the strongest members of each tier. These tiers are the demon tier, the god tier, dragon tier, and then there are the old ones or the ancient ones tier. Now, each of these beings are capable of destroying a certain layer of the Dungeons and Dragons cosmology, with the ancient ones, or at least one of them, being able to destroy the entire thing in one shot. And obviously, Asgarath, the primordial dragon, the creator, should also be able to destroy all this as well. Now, keep in mind, there are also other pantheons within the cosmology and their own planes here, such as the Olympian, the Norse, and the I'm trying to think. The Egyptian pantheon as well, which would also have their respective cosmologies, with basically each of the gods here basically scaling relative to each other, as all these gods were able to fight a being known as the Leviathan, and they were all able to fight against the Titans, who were considered, or basically were, the entire concepts of their respective multiverse or respective cosmology. Now, keep in mind, there are also alternate prime material planes. Basically, these planes are, again, the same, but again, have different properties. I'm putting up the information here right now so we don't have to really, focus on this here, such as, planes like the Asmodeus, the ethereal planes, and stuff like that here, which are basically higher level planes, which are beyond the space-time and maybe even the dimensions of the other planes here. And keep in mind, there are a multitude of planes that pretty much exist on a higher level. Now, keep in mind, there are also elemental planes as well. Yes, you also have various amounts of elemental planes: fire, ice, water, wind, darkness, light as well. Well, I know that's not an element. I guess it's more of an attribute, if you will, here. But again, these various amounts of planes that exist here, all infinite in size, very different types of dimensional brands. That's what I'm trying to say here. Each plane has their own dimensional brand to themselves. And again, obviously, there's a ranking system, all right? So, with that being said here, I think that pretty much just covers just about everything here. And we'll be using the strongest members of each tier. I hope I said it earlier. Like the Demigorgon, we'll also be using the entirety of the Olympian pantheon, or the gods themselves, right? We'll also be using the Dragon tier, which will basically be of Tiamat, and then the Ancient Ones will be the Lady of Pain. Now, let's actually go over Hydranoid in his tier. Hydranoid would actually be around the same levels as Infinity Core, or I think cross Dragonoid, he would actually be relative to those levels, as he should be superior to those who have harmed Mectavius Destroyer. Now you might say, legendary, what? Hydranoid would never be able to hurt Mectavius Destroyer. Now, again, originally I thought, yeah, that would be the case here, right? But then I watched the season that was Mectanium Surge and watched that same episode where Mectavius Destroyer went to Vistroya, and we have Tigrera, Blade Tigrera, and Preyas just casually harming and even causing Mectavius Destroyer great amounts of pain and even bringing him to his knees. So, you mean to tell me we can't accept Hydranoid doing that, but he's beaten a Drago, basically clowned a Drago in his second stage, mind you, that beat both Tigrera and Preyas, who had Diablos' help, at the same time. Yeah, Hydranoid should not only be able to harm Mectavius Destroyer, but judging by how the others performed, and if we actually took into consideration the sheer fact that for some reason Hydranoid got the short end of the stick while the other Bakugan got the limelight, when again a lot of people liked Hydranoid more than the others. But I digress here. Now, it's also excuse me. Now, we also can use the games for this as well, as it is a part of the Bakugan cosmology and pretty much extends it here. Hydranoid should scale above Gladiator, who took the Infinity Core and Silent Core to seal. Keep in mind, again, Hydranoid scales to a much stronger Drago, who not only had control of the Infinity Core, but required a member of the Ancient Six to actually be able to, well, contain said power. And again, with Hydranoid being one of the few Bakugan that would actually be able to knock Mectavius Destroyer on his butt, yeah, I think it should be safe to say here that Hydranoid would definitely scale above the Ancient Six themselves if they all fought him together. Now, keep in mind, Hydranoid does have the Doom Dimension, a dimension that was able to contain a lot of probably some of the most strongest Bakugan in the cosmology, and it's a plane where Bakugan can't thrive, yet Hydranoid is one of the few Bakugan that can actually thrive in there, right? And if we actually take in consideration that he is able to harm Mectavius Destroyer and probably do a lot better than Preyas and Tigrera here, then yeah, they would actually have those creation levels of AP to where they should be able to destroy various amounts of concepts, or at least a few concepts in their cosmology. Now, keep in mind the Bakugan cosmology does have a infinite number of universes, as according to Dragonoid Colossus, who is one of the more, I guess you could say he's like the Vector Prime of his cosmology. He's like this ancient old dragon that has been there since the beginning. It is what it is here. But, yeah. Hydranoid should definitely be in those destruction and definitely in those creation tiers of power, considering the sheer fact that he is able to harm and even being able to beat characters who have used the power of the Infinity Core and the Silent Core. Now, keep in mind, Hydranoid is capable of... is capable of using nullification, regeneration, transmutation, power negation, power absorption, and power amplification. Basically, he can take someone's power and even not only just nullify it so that it doesn't harm him, but add on that opponent's power to himself. So without further ado, let's begin. Now, you might say, Legendary, you actually skipped a few tiers. Yes, I did. Yeah, I did. Because most of these creatures and most of these beings in the cosmology are just straight up fodder. Even most members of the godly pantheon are fodder. So we're going to just straight up go into the demon tier, or the demon lord tier, excuse me. And we're going to start off with the Demigorgon. Now, keep in mind the demon lords in Dungeons and Dragons have a symbiotic relationship with their universes. Demigorgon is actually the strongest of these lords as well, and was able to defeat countless, and I mean countless, other hell lords or demon lords throughout his reign. to the point where he just claimed the dimension for itself. None of these other demon lords can stop him. So he basically has every ability a demon should: transmutation, molecular manipulation, dimensional reality warping, and stuff like that there. So yeah, he's basically around the same levels as basically his tier is multiversal, is what I should say here, as he has been able to defeat other demon lords and even shake their realms. Now, keep in mind, Hydranoid should be able to casually just deal with him. Like, there's really nothing the demon lord here could do. And again, Demogorgon is powerful, but he's not powerful enough to just be like, oh yeah, he's just gonna cause such a difficult problem for someone like Hydranoid. Now, next up, we have the gods. Now, I know, this is Smite. I know this is Smite. All right, I hear me out. I just really like the picture, and plus, I didn't feel like making a whole collage of Odin, Zeus, and their respective pantheons. So, just take it as you will. As the only pantheons we actually know are in Dungeons and Dragons are the Norse, Greek, and Egyptian. So this is important because the gods were able to defeat the Titans, who embodied the very concepts of their entire cosmology. This is also important because the gods actually oversee their own realms or their own universes. Keep in mind, some of these universes are conceptual in nature, as Hades, Zeus's brother, and someone who Zeus scales above to, as well as Odin and what's his name? Amun-Ra, excuse me. Yeah, they would actually scale above Hades here, who was able to rule over a realm that is filled with the concept of entropy and empathy. So again, he's very powerful in his own right here. But this honestly feels like another Ancient Six battle, or another members of the Ancient Six basically going up against Hydranoid. And again, Hydranoid is taking on a full pantheon. So, full 3 pantheons in all honesty. And again, if the Leviathan can do it, with the Leviathan being weaker, plus he can easily use moves like Gravity Chamber just to pull in anyone who's just too far from him and just take out the fodder, leaving only the real gods left. And I mean, it shouldn't be hard for him to deal with them. I mean, what are they gonna do? Like, they can't mutate him, they can't burn him or electrocute him, or I mean, they could destroy concepts. Maybe they could just probably target him on a conceptual level. But again, Hydranoid should be able to nullify those powers and abilities. Now, next up, we have the Dragon Tier, and who else but Tiamat? Now, here's the thing, right? If Hydranoid does not amass enough power, throughout fighting the Demon Lord Demogorgon, fighting the gods themselves and absorbing their power, he loses. I would definitely say it definitely would be a high difficulty battle, but Tiamat can definitely has the versatility to push him around. And considering she's the daughter of Lo, or Asgarath, the creator of the entire cosmology, yeah, he should have no problem like dealing with him, like in any way, shape, or form. I mean, the sheer fact that Tiamat can definitely be a base Hydranoid should speak volumes here. Plus, the thing is here, Hydranoid absorbed a lot of power throughout this fight here, throughout the, pantheons and stuff like that there. And keep in mind, pantheon gods like Zeus and Odin are considered to be just close enough to the Dragon Tier to where if they decided to challenge Tiamat, they should be able to give her a decent fight. Win? No. But again, with Hydranoid absorbing their power stacked upon his own power as well as the power of any demon lords he decides to absorb along the way, and plus if having him with 3 pantheon worths of power on top of his own here, yeah, Hydranoid could definitely take Tiamat if he's amassed just that much power at this point here. Plus, if he draws Tiamat's power throughout the fight as well, he could eventually take her down, but it would definitely be a high difficulty battle if that pretty much happens. But over the time, if Hydranoid did amass that much power, then it becomes more of an uphill battle for Tiamat as her power is being drained. However, Hydranoid does not clear here. He definitely stops when we hit beings like the Ancient Ones, especially the Lady of Pain. Now, the Lady of Pain herself is such a devastating entity that she kind of just does whatever she wants. She's that high in the Dungeons and Dragons cosmology, only being beaten by, or only, being surpassed by the player's character. Obviously, the OC always has to be the most powerful, right? But here's the thing. The Lady of Death, Lady of Pain. The Lady of Pain here is able to one-shot the entire Dungeons and Dragons cosmology. So everything we just said prior to everyone here, she is so powerful that if she decides to appear in her true form, she would one-shot the entire cosmology. It does not matter how much power Hydranoid gains. He is not winning this fight by no means here. He does good. He does good here. Now, as for him fighting someone like Asgarath, I think Asgarath would be able to deal with him, like, pretty handedly. Now, you might say, well, wouldn't, Tiamat be able to beat him now since she's stronger than her dad? Yeah, she's more, she's definitely stronger, but her dad's more versatile. Like, he's got a lot up his sleeve that he doesn't use against his own daughter. Again, she's the Queen of Dragons because, again, he doesn't want to, I guess you could say, full on harm her. Because, again, if he wanted to, he could probably take her out. Again, it would probably, cause a little discomfort, cause a little pain, but I think Asgarath would definitely be able to take Tiamat pretty easily. But again, she probably would surpass him in, most hacks and abilities. But again, Asgarath just has a major advantage when it comes to the amount of hacks and the amount of things he can do. Now, as for Drago, could he clear it? No. I think Drago actually does worse against Tiamat than Hydranoid, believe it or not. And again, this is because Drago cannot steal someone's power and make it his own, And the fact that Hydranoid can, it gives him just a hacks advantage over someone like that, And in all honesty, when it comes down to it, Hydranoid in a base comparison wouldn't beat Tiamat. So there are basically two levels he could stop. I definitely think if Hydranoid was a part of the Dungeons and Dragons cosmology, he would definitely be seen as like a rival to Tiamat and would definitely be rivaling her power, but he wouldn't be able to really get on her level because, again, rivaling it means you're close to it. Now, with that being said here, if he rivals it and he's able to eventually gain enough power to surpass her or to flat out realize that, okay, now I feel like I can beat her, then yes, I would probably say Hydranoid would definitely usurp Tiamat's throne and definitely become the Dragon King himself. But other than that, that's going to be all for today, you guys. Hydranoid does not clear, and I think I'm going to Nope, I'm going to survive this fall. I'll be all right. But that's going to be all for today. Please comment down below, like, and subscribe, and share it with your friends. This is Legendary Grimlock, and I hope you have a blessed day. Peace.